Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. Today's guest is Rob Bostock.
Thanks, Scotty. Thanks for having me, mate.
Is it Rob or Robert?
Well, it's Robert, and some people call me Rob, and some people call me Robbie.
Oh, Robbie, that's right, because like Robbie, but not Robert. That's only when you're naughty.
Only when I'm naughty, mate. Yeah, but when I do my solo stuff, I call myself Robbie because an old booking agent of mine said you got to call yourself Robbie. It can't be Robert because you sound like a doctor or a lawyer. Not that that's a bad thing, but she said it looks better on the poster if it's Robbie. I'm like, oh, okay.
It sounds like you're a likeable sort of a lad.
Yeah.
Robbie. All right. When did music come into your life? How young were you?
Well, very young. My father played guitar, so right when I can remember my dad playing the guitar. He was no virtuoso, but he could play a few chords, and he
loved it.
And he loved it. He would sing Slim Dusty covers and Australian bush ballads, a lot of country music, and that was my first memory of music. And Mum, not a musician, but she was a music lover. Had a great record collection.
Your mum's very artistic as well.
She's very artistic, great artist, and she had a great record collection. Like looking back on it, she had a lot of the folk music, Gordon Lightfoot, that kind of thing. But then Janis Joplin, Carlos Santana, Eagles.
Whereabouts were you living growing up?
In Upper Coomera.
Upper Coomera.
Grew up out in Upper Coomera before it was what it is now.
When it was not out in the bush.
Out in the bush, yeah. So that was my first memory of sort of music, and then my dad would take my brother and I to a country music club sort of thing, where these country music musicians would get together and jam, I think once a month, and we'd go along, and that was the first time I saw someone playing an electric guitar, and I thought, what is that, And then from there, Mum and Dad got me a little acoustic guitar not long after that.
How old were you when this was happening?
Probably about 7, I reckon. Yeah.
Yep.
So Mum and Dad got me an acoustic guitar, started getting a few lessons. And as soon as I knew a few chords, I was up and away. Like I was writing my own little songs and singing country songs and, just trying to mimic sort of what Dad was doing.
Oh, yeah.
And then not long after that, I got an electric guitar, and because I just was fascinated by the electric guitar and the lead guitar going on in songs.
What sort of an electric guitar was it?
It was a Hondo, a blue Hondo Strat with the humbuckers and everything in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, do you remember those?
I remember, I think I had a Hondo Les Paul copy.
Oh, yep, yeah.
But I never had a Hondo Strat.
This thing was really heavy, like it weighed a ton, like being so young. But, then... started getting a few lessons, and any time there was a family function or a barbecue or whatever, I wasn't shy to get up and play a few songs.
So you loved it?
I absolutely loved it. And then my brother played the drums as well, and we would get together and jam all the time. Then what happened? We used to go out to this place called Warra every year, which is...
I know, little town, but they have there's a festival thing that happens out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was a fishing competition that we used to go to every year. Dad used to take us there.
That's quite a bit out west, so they would have had a fishing on a lake?
In a river.
In a river.
In a river. Everyone would camp.
Because I'm trying to think, the drive, because we always pass through Warra when we're driving to Roma.
Yes, out that way, yeah.
So that's a fair way out west.
Yeah, fair way out. Anyway, I took all my guitar and everything out. I don't know how it came about, but that's where I played my first gig.
Yeah, wow.
The band that was there, I got up and, had my cowboy hat on, and I got up and played a few songs, and my brother played the drums in it too. So that's where it started for me.
You've got a brother that plays drums, and you guys had a band together.
Yep.
But you've also got sisters.
Yes. That's right. And they got into music as well.
So you've got a brother who's older than you?
Yes, he's older.
And then a sister who's younger.
Yep.
Where's the other sister fit in?
She's the eldest.
She's the eldest.
Sarah's the eldest. So,
all right.
So yeah, we all got into music kind of on our own. And then I think Dad took us to that same country music club, and we started performing there together.
Oh, okay.
And we thought, this is pretty cool. And then next time we'd go there, we would try and prepare for it so we'd have a little bit of a rehearsal type of thing. And then we did a talent quest out at Roma, actually, out of that way. There was a country music talent quest, and we went out there, but we prepared for it, took it seriously, and that was kind of our first, I guess we're a band type of thing.
The Bosstocks.
The Bosstocks went from there.
What was the hierarchy in the band? Who was calling the shots, and how did that all work?
Well, to be honest, probably Dad. He was the boss. But we all loved it.
Yeah.
Rachel, at that time too, the Corrs were very popular, and she just being a violin player loved the Corrs, but we were doing a lot of country music, and but then from there, we started playing at a pub called the Coomera Lodge Hotel. There used to be a great band that used to play out there called Peyote. I don't know if you remember. Andy Hanna, great frontman, Michael Olsen on guitar, Max Murphy on drums, and that was my dad's local.
Yeah.
And so he got to know those guys, and the kids are getting into a bit of music, And I think Andy said, "Why don't you bring them out and they can play during one of our breaks?" Like, we were very young. Like, Rachel would have been only 8 years old. Yeah,
I mean, I remember when I first met you guys, Rachel must have been maybe 10 or 11.
Yeah, yep. She would have been around that age.
And you were doing gigs down in Coffs Harbour.
Yeah, that was a little bit later on, I think, yeah.
Well, if she was 7 years, there's a few years in between.
Yeah, a few years there. But anyway, it was funny because that was a great opportunity for us because, we've got like a bit of a gig. Again, we'd get into the shed, we'd prepare our songs, practice for it, but it was a bit of a bourbon and coke bar, if you know what I mean. Like, it was a bit of a bikey kind of hangout. It could get a bit rough, but they loved us there. It was so good for us. Rachel started learning The Devil Went Down to Georgia, and they loved that. Like, when we played that song, the place was just quiet. They were just watching Rach shredding up The Devil Went Down to Georgia,
Wow.
10 years old, whatever.
Yeah, that would have been impressive to see.
Yeah, a lot of great memories.
How long did the Bosstocks last for? Because I know that you were still doing stuff together up until only a few years ago, and I guess the first to leave was probably your older sister.
That's right, yep.
She obviously had a family,
Yep.
but it became a little probably too difficult for her to...
Exactly, and we'd done a lot of touring together because, when I got into high school, we started going to Tamworth every year, and then from Tamworth, a lot of doors kind of opened up. So by the time we got to high school, we were working quite a lot, and that's about the time I would have met you when you came down to Coffs Harbour with us that time. Yeah.
So you're doing like the Star Maker quest and stuff in Tamworth?
No. By that stage, we didn't really do too many talent quests because we soon found out we can make good money busking. Number one at Tamworth, we used to make really good money busking, which we declared every single cent. But yeah, we made really good money busking, and then that was great for us because we'd busk for a long time, but we got our chops up.
Yeah.
And then from there, we got into the pubs.
Yep.
And then it opened a lot of doors too because the kid factor too helps.
Oh, absolutely.
And then...
It's like to some degree, there's a certain amount of novelty about
absolutely,
it.
Absolutely. But then from there, we as we got a little bit older, we started working the pubs. We actually developed a pretty good following in Grafton and Coffs Harbour around that time because of a guy called John Wicker White. He was a bit of a living legend in Grafton, and he said, "Why don't you come to Grafton? I can get you some gigs." And we must have played every pub in Grafton. Like, we would go down there every weekend. Like, during my grade 11, grade 12, it was down there all the time.
Wow.
Working,
So how old were you when I did... So I went to Coffs Harbour because your dad had called me up and said, "I want to record the band.
Yes.
I want to record a live gig."
Yes.
And you guys were playing at... wasn't the Hoey Moey, it was...
It was the Coffs Hotel.
The Coffs Hotel.
And the reason why we wanted to do that was because we used to sell really good merch at some of our gigs and Tamworth as well. So we get a live album, because people they just wanted to hear The Devil Went Down to Georgia, and I think we put that on there, and I think I was I must have been about 19 then, I think, by that stage.
By that stage, yeah.
But before that, we were working... Yeah, there was actually a street just outside of Grafton called Bosstock Street.
Oh, really? So
a lot of the locals, they thought we were a local band. Oh. We were just going down there every weekend.
Yep.
And the paper would always do a good write-up on us. And, actually another good story, Carlton United Brewery there's a big brewery there.
Yep.
They ended up sponsoring us because back in those days, remember they used to do the drinks promote. They could advertise
Yes.
the cheap drinks.
Yes.
And that's what they used to do. Come and see the Bosstocks and you get the cheap. They would put on a promotion for us and they'd give us giveaways and we had merch and everything made. The Bosstocks Carlton United Brewery, but we weren't even old enough to drink. So,
Oh man.
good times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, the world's a changing place. I don't know how legal that'd be these days.
I know, absolutely. Yeah, times have changed.
I was, there was a time when bands were going out and being sponsored by cigarette companies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so your sister leaves, the band changes, and then at some point your brother leaves as well,
Yep.
and then it's basically you and Rach.
Yeah, Rach and I kicked it on for a little bit, but if we just back up a little bit, sometime in the 90s,
Yep.
Dad, it ties in, don't worry. But Dad took me to see Phil Emanuel.
Oh, okay, yes.
So if we go back to my guitar playing, that kind of really changed
90s,
things.
so that was well after my stint with Phil,
Yep.
because mine was late 80s.
Late 80s, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So when I saw Phil play, actually, I may as well tell
Yeah.
that story. Dad said, come and see this guitarist, Phil, he's brilliant. And I was just absolutely blown away. The very next day I went and bought the Kakadu Sunrise album.
Yep.
And I was just obsessed with it. I'd never seen anyone play a guitar like that. Little did I know I'd become, good friends with Phil. So after the Bosstocks, going back to that, because I'd gotten to know Phil pretty well,
Yeah.
we did a collaboration album.
Ah, that's right, yeah.
Together, yeah. And
I'd forgotten about that.
So we did that, and I also did a collaboration with a friend of mine, Steve Cummins.
Yes.
I did a lot of touring with Steve after the Bosstocks as well.
Steve talked about that.
Yes.
I did a podcast with Steve, and he talked
Yep.
about the fact that you did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did a lot of touring there, but what an amazing experience to have Phil in the studio and learn from him. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of a kind, that guy. Absolutely.
I think very underrated. Yeah, like you look back now and he was, I've never seen anyone play the guitar with ferocity and fire, but then at the same time he could play a beautiful ballad as well. He had that light and shade in his playing, which I loved.
He had perfect pitch,
Yeah. Yep.
which was quite a bit of a rarity,
Yeah.
but it certainly served him very well.
Yeah. Yep. But, he was very encouraging to us as kids too, because we got booked to play a support for, I don't know how it came about, but not long after I had seen him play for the first time, we got booked to play a support for him.
Okay.
And again, we were just kids.
Yep.
And we finished the gig, and I said to Phil after the gig, I was just an excited, enthusiastic young fella. I said, Phil, can we get up and play another? Like the gig was over.
Yeah.
I said, can we get up and play some more? And he let us play, and he got up and played with us, and he was awesome. And he actually used us for a couple of gigs after that.
Oh,
he
cool.
took us out to some gigs, and we'd open for him. And every year we'd run into him at Tamworth, and we'd have a jam. And we'd never played through a big PA or anything like that before, so it was just like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" As kids playing through a big system like that, cranked up. It was absolutely awesome.
You have the ability to do recordings. At some point, you've set up a recording studio, because I know that you've had a studio in the back of your parents' property.
That's right, which I still have the studio there to this day.
Okay.
But yeah, I used to have a little Tascam 4-track recorder, which I used to play around with, and then I started taking things a little bit more seriously after high school. I did the popular music university course, and I learned a lot more there. It was kind of a weird era though, like technology-wise, because I don't know, just like I got a computer, but everything was clunky and cracked plugins, and I even remember the computers.
There was a point where
Do you
the
remember
changing
that?
over from tape to computer, and,
Yeah.
and it was,
Yeah,
they hadn't quite solved a lot of the issues. I mean, the recording systems in general were very, very expensive.
yes,
Like analog consoles, there was a point in time to have a good quality analog console and a tape machine could set you well over $100,000.
yep,
Well over.
yeah,
And I think when the digital recording came along, the there was actually really good, high quality digital recording,
Yes.
but it was expensive.
That's my point. That's what
There
I mean.
there was a lot of cheaper options.
Yeah.
But the cheaper options were
clunky
and didn't necessarily work very well.
I had a homemade computer and a bunch of crack plugins, and that's when I started getting into it a lot more. And would start recording. But I think now, like, you look at things now, everything just runs beautifully.
Man,
and
the quality of the converters is, you can buy cheap converters now that would be better than anything that you would have 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And, it would cost you a couple $100.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The high-end stuff is unbelievably good.
Yeah.
And I guess that in some ways there's still a little bit of an argument, people arguing is tape better than digital, but I think they both record incredibly well, just in a different way.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Did you ever have a reel-to-reel?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember when you had the ADAT in your studio.
I've got an ADAT.
Yep.
And I had a nice 8-track 1-inch, 8-track half-inch.
Yep.
A big 300 kilogram thing with meters and a remote.
Yeah.
Brad Hosking bought it off me.
Oh, really? Yeah. Nice.
So now Brad sits in Brad's place. I think Brad's still got it.
Yep.
But it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was only 8 tracks. I did a lot of recordings in studios that had bigger machines. I used to do a little bit of work out of a studio on the Isle of Capri with Daniel Winter, and he's got 2 real high-end 24-track machines locked up together. And
wow.
And so that was pretty amazing, working with a massive API console. And
wow, yeah.
But the 8-track machine, that was great because you could record drums to that. And I think that was probably one of the main things that you got the benefits from.
Yep.
So you could record drums to that and then bounce that into Pro Tools and then do all the other stuff.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
And that was a nice worker. And then you still got the benefit of the tape compression with drums.
Yep.
Which I think was probably the most beneficial part. But sometimes it's nice to put guitars on tape, and it just depends on what sort of sound you're going for.
That's right, yeah. Well, I do a lot of session stuff at my studio too, and I don't even, everything's digital now. Yeah. I'm going to Helix, and it's quick and easy.
So you're not even using an amp, you're basically using a guitar modeler.
Yep. I'll just, I normally give the producer a dry signal as well, but I'll just choose what I think it should be and go from there.
Wow.
Yeah, times have changed, that's for sure. Like, I don't even think I've got all my amps sitting at home.
Because you've got a nice bunch of amps.
Yeah, I do have some nice amps, but they don't get used. They're just sitting there. Wow. I rarely even get booked for a gig where I use an amp or have the necessity to use it. A lot of the touring stuff, it's Backline or,
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's talk about... So you've done a bit of recording. You did the thing with the Phil. Did you actually do any touring with Phil to promote the CD?
Yeah, we actually did. Yeah, we did some touring with Phil, and that was awesome too, spending some time on the road with Phil as well.
That would have been a good, an interesting learning curve.
Yeah, and picking his brain and about, asking him questions. I used to annoy him about, questions about the Kakadu Sunrise album.
Oh, wow.
And,
I remember annoying him about a lot of things and he'd always say to me, "No, you play plenty good. You don't need it."
Yeah, he was like that, eh? So after, did some touring with Phil, did a lot of touring with Steve Cummins, and he was a bit of a mentor for me as well.
Because you go down and do stuff down in Victoria.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you were doing the back, because he talked about doing the backing track thing. And I remember you came to me at one particular point and said, "Can you just throw some backing tracks?"
I had to outsource it, mate. I was that busy.
You were busy.
I was busy at the time. So, but I was playing guitar in his Neil show as well. So we'd go out on weekends and double up on things. And so after that, a mate of mine, Dean Ray.
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard of Dean.
Yeah. No, I do remember this now.
Yep. One of the all-time great frontmen, very talented musician, had done quite well on the X Factor.
Yes.
And he had moved to Melbourne, and after the show, he said to me, "I want you to come and play lead guitar."
Because he can play guitar pretty well himself.
He's a great player, but I think he's always liked the idea of having the second guitarist in the band. So I was going down there all the time, and I absolutely loved Melbourne. Yep. So I ended up moving to Melbourne for a couple of years. Yeah, had a ball down there, loved it. Yeah.
So whereabouts were you living in Melbourne?
Lived in a couple of places. I lived in Thornbury, and then Kensington, and then Avondale Heights. Wow. So I was there for a couple of years, and then the weather I got sick of the weather. Came back to the Gold Coast, and we are very lucky to live here. It is a great city.
It's a great part of the world.
Yeah. Yep.
So you've done the Dean Ray thing, and then I do remember that period. And he was gigging a lot.
He was gigging a lot, and he had a great following as well.
Yeah.
But unlike like a lot of those shows, unfortunately, the honeymoon period's pretty short. Sort of ran out. But he's still doing a lot of great things. But we did a lot of touring, and it was a great band. Like we had Johnny Salerno on drums and Kit Riley on bass. It was
cool.
It was awesome. Yeah. And met a lot of great people when I moved to Melbourne too.
Yeah, it's a great community. Like they've got a really, really strong and vibrant musical community.
They do, yeah. Yep, absolutely.
So that finishes up. What's next?
Then came back to the Gold Coast and then put the Hinterland band together.
With Rachel and Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse is Phil Emanuel's daughter.
Well, that's the thing. Phil, just after I'd done the album with Phil, he said, you should meet my daughter. She's writing these great songs. Would you be able to help her record some stuff? So I helped Jessie with I produced her first 2 records.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I moved back from Melbourne, she was getting back into a little bit of writing, and Rachel and I were still doing the odd little gigs together. It just felt right to do something together. Yeah. That was my idea to do Hinterland. I said to Rach, what do you think about doing a project with Jessie? And that was just an incredible time, and we had a bit of success with it. It was a lot of fun.
How long before COVID did you do that? Because I know that while COVID hit while you were still doing the Hinterland thing.
Yeah. I think we had some stuff recorded just before COVID or just while it was sort of coming out. So, we had to do everything. Like we decided to just go for it and just, launch the project during COVID. And it worked. Yeah.
Yeah. And you had Stuart doing producing.
Yes.
What was that like for you working with a producer like that?
Fantastic. I absolutely love Stuart. And I actually had sent him the original demos for Hinterland.
Okay.
And the first thing he said was, how'd you get these guitar sounds? And I said, no, mate, that's,
that's my little secret.
Yeah, that's it. And he goes, I think you should track the guitars at your place.
Oh.
And so we did a lot of recording with Stuart, but I never saw him ever.
Oh, really?
We just worked remotely.
Okay.
And it was brilliant.
Well, I guess over COVID that would have worked really, really well.
Yeah, and that too. So, and I would just give him updates on voice note or, on Messenger. I'd just hold the phone up. What do you think of this? And he would push you. He would push you to get the best take. Mm-hmm. And he was, I actually think he did wonders for my playing because I didn't realise how badly out of time I used to play.
You're getting a bit sloppy, were you?
Yeah, he's like, mate, you need to just tighten up that bit. And so from doing all those guitar parts with Stuart, I actually ended up doing a lot of work for Stuart, doing session stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he really liked my guitar tones and things like that. Yep. He said, mate, wouldn't mind getting you to play on some of these other country albums that I'm producing.
Oh, cool.
So I did a lot of session work for Stuart, which was fun as well.
Prior to COVID, how much work were you doing, like live gigging?
I was doing a lot. Of
because not only on top of that, you're doing solo stuff as well. Yeah, just like any other muso, just doing everything you can. But I was busy at the time, and I actually remember thinking to myself at one gig, I'm like, this is unbelievable. Like some of the gigs that I was doing, I'm like, I'm getting a lot of work. And one thing I've learned in this industry, nothing's forever. You're always kind of like, what's going to happen, Yeah.
And COVID hit.
The one thing that is assured of it's going to happen is things are going to change.
Yes.
So COVID hits, and you had a bit of there was some success, and you're running around the countryside doing odd video clips off the sides of massive big rocks.
I know. Yeah. I know. Shout out to Nigel. He was awesome. But I was at the same time during COVID, I'd started recording my own instrumental songs as well, because I've always loved instrumental music. Rachel, my sister, loved instrumental music too. We used to do a lot of instrumentals in the Bosstocks.
Yes.
So that's something that I've always had a passion for, and obviously being an Emanuel Brothers fan and, Satriani and all the guns.
Yeah.
I've always just loved doing instrumentals just for me, just for my own thing. So during COVID, I was busy. I was really busy in the studio working on my own stuff.
When did you do your first solo album? Was that after COVID?
I had recorded it during COVID, and I recorded a few more songs and released it after COVID. Yeah, yep.
And how did you go about marketing and promoting that?
I had a little bit of help. I had some publicity on it, and I had a couple of gigs around it, some festival, did Blues on Broadbeach and things like that, but not a heck of a lot, to be honest. I'm not the best person at, being consistent with my socials and putting it out there.
Because that's a whole job in and of itself.
Absolutely. And it's also very niche what I'm doing. It's not for everyone. Again, I just did it for myself.
It is very niche, but it's also that thing where, there is I think quite a big market for that stuff. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard marketing and finding the people who would probably love your stuff.
That's
because
right.
Because you've got to probably spend twice as much as someone who's doing something that's pop.
Yep.
Shall we say?
Exactly. Yep.
So
yeah, and I love a lot of the surf kind of stuff too. So I'm kind of putting in the Shadows influence in there too, and then it's.
So who would you say was your favourite guitar player?
Well, it'd have to be Phil, honestly.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I'd just never seen anyone play a guitar like that, and I hadn't heard of, I'd heard of Carlos Santana and Eric Clapton from Mum's Records, and I loved the Blind Faith record. That was another, loved that album. But, I'd never heard of, he was the one who introduced me to Jeff Beck and Satriani and, check out these guys.
He was a massive Gary Moore fan.
And a Gary Moore, exactly.
And a Michael Schenker fan.
Yeah, Michael Schenker, yeah.
I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about doing this stuff with Phil too is we would do a medley of TV themes.
Yeah.
And I would never have, it's something that you'd think, why would you do but he would play all of the TV, and it was an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And people were glued.
Yeah.
They loved it.
I know, and there was some great TV themes too in
Yeah.
those days too. Yeah, so, yeah.
I guess that's something that him and Tommy used to work together doing as a duo as well.
Yep.
Like doing things like the Pink Panther and
Yes.
all that stuff, TV and movie themes. And,
Yeah, that's right.
But that was one of the things that I remember that I really used to enjoy.
Yeah.
Musically.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it was such a different.
Yeah, it's unique.
Unique and different thing to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Hinterland, and Jessie talked about in her podcast when Hinterland came to an end, and for whatever reason, I guess things ran out of steam and the vibe wasn't there anymore. And I think she was saying that the enjoyment maybe had gone out of it, the passion for it.
Absolutely, and again, nothing's forever, in this industry, and it just felt right. The time was right, and
what did you do with yourself after Hinterland?
After Hinterland, I was just back in doing heaps of producing, session work, doing some of my own stuff as well, which we'll talk about later. I've got some new stuff coming out. But then a friend of mine, Dennis Dunstan, got in contact with me. Dennis manages a Tina Turner show.
Yes.
And I jumped on board with the Tina show to do a world tour with them. So the good part of last year, I was away for a lot of it.
I saw a lot of the stuff online. It looked amazing.
It's world class. And Rebecca, who actually lives on the Gold Coast now, she's an incredible, does great vocal, great front woman, but she's Irish. She's got the dark skin, just sings like Tina, but it's a very professional show. Dennis is the drummer, but he's also the manager. Mm-hmm. He was involved with Fleetwood Mac back in the day, tour managing with Fleetwood Mac, and he's been there and done it, so he knows how to operate a good touring show. Mm-hmm. And I just had an absolute ball, just absolutely loved it. Yeah. And it was cool too because they kind of let me put my own spin on things. Like he said, I don't want you to learn everything note for note. I want you to put some of your stuff in it too. So, for example, in Private Dancer, I would do my own kind of little interpretation on that. They also gave me a feature piece in the show too.
I was just going to say, I saw some parts where you were standing out on the stage on your own with all of the wonderful lighting happening. Yeah,
so Dennis said, he goes, I want you to do Chariots of Fire. He just loves that song, loved that arrangement that I did with Phil. And while they did a costume change, I got to have my moment too, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That is really cool.
Yeah.
So you recorded this, you've been recording new material.
Yes.
And you've got a song which by the time this podcast comes out, I would imagine the song will be out as well. What's the song called?
Soul Searching.
Soul Searching.
It's a little bit different for me. I'm singing in it.
Oh.
And playing slide. and I'm not a slide player at all.
Oh, wow.
But I just felt like the song needed
I saw
it.
the cover, so it's got a bit of a surfy vibe.
It's a blues. It's a blues.
It's a blues?
It's a 70s rock blues thing.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, it's the slide thing's funny. I got asked to do a session and they said, "Oh, can you play slide?" And I said, "Yeah, no worries." Drove down to the music shop and bought one and worked it out there. So I'm not a slide player, but I think it works for the song. Do you want to go through some of the tones?
Yeah, well, let's have a look. So you're using live. You were talking about the fact that you're using mainly processors and stuff. Now, not actually using an amp per se.
Well, back in the day, I was a GP8, Roland GP8 man,
Yeah.
because that's what Phil used.
Yeah.
But now I'm sort of going to the digital stuff now. Yeah, and when I did the tour last year with the Tina show, there was no backline and getting in and out of planes. So there's not a lot of weight. Some of the
So you had to have something really light and small.
yeah, really light. So I've gone with this Boss GX100, and I was actually really impressed with it.
Yeah. Well, it does sound pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So let's have a listen to a couple of sounds.
And I always try and I've got a few multi effects at home. I always sort of try and emulate the GP8 sound, especially kind of the clean, the compression in the GP8 I always liked.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. There it is. What's up with him? That type of thing. These are the Dave Gilmour.
The date, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, just do a quick explanation. What we were referring to is the actual pickups in the guitar are EMG pickups.
EMG pickups.
And it's a Dave Gilmour set,
Yep.
which is basically 3 SAs.
Yep. It's just a good workhorse pickups. You know, you can get some good sounds out of it. I normally, that's my clean with the delay. I normally have that floating, but I've got it back because I'm doing some drop D stuff at the moment.
So have you got? Because I mean, it's funny. I've got this Blade RH4. Which
Let's
is one of
talk about the Blades.
Let's talk about the Blade.
Best guitars in the world.
They are fantastic. I'll tell you one of the things, and I'm surprised with the tremolo system is. I just can't believe that anybody else hasn't managed to be able to make anything similar.
Yep.
So it's virtually got a system for bending down,
Yes.
and a separate system for bending up.
Yep.
So like with mine, it sits flat on the body,
Yep.
but you can still pull up.
You can still pull up, yeah. But you've got it. It's a little bit
You've
of
really
effort
got
to
it.
do
Well,
it.
yeah, but you've got to
Yeah.
have that tension evenly
Yeah, you gotta have it
balanced. So
right.
it's sitting
Yeah.
flat on the deck, but it's still
Yeah.
quite balanced there, haven't you?
I normally don't worry about that. I normally float the bridge, just the whole bridge itself.
Okay.
And that's how Phil used to do his as well.
That's because Phil couldn't be bothered setting it up properly.
Yeah, probably. But massive shout out to Gary Levinson. He's been pretty good to me over the years, and I've got to know him pretty well. So he's been good with parts and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And I was only talking to him the other day. They said they got some exciting things happening at Blade. So keep an ear out.
Yeah.
But they're a great guitar.
They're great guitars.
Yeah, great workhorse.
Yeah.
You've got one of the original lawsuit
Yeah, I bought
models
one.
there.
Well, I won that in a competition.
Oh, really?
Yes, for being
Yeah.
okay at playing guitar.
More than okay, obviously.
Yeah, no, I won that in a competition. That's how come I had the choice between. I think I walked into the shop after I'd won this particular thing, and they said, "Okay, well, it was that particular guitar," and I saw the Blade, and I said, "Oh, can I actually have that one?"
Yeah.
And they went, "Yeah, okay, well,
Yeah.
okay, we'll let you have that one."
Yeah.
So, but I had a set of EMGs in mind. Obviously,
Yeah.
one of those things. Robbie spent a bit of time working with Phil. I spent 2 years working with Phil in the late '80s, and
Yes.
one of the legacies of working with Phil is you end up liking EMG pickups.
Exactly, yeah. If it's good enough for Phil, it's good enough for me.
Oh man, and
Yeah.
one of the great things, because they're active pickups, is you can go through a lot of different venues, and some of them have dodgy power
Yeah.
and all sorts of things. And EMGs are one of the because they're active, they're actually very, what shall we call them, noiseless. They don't create any crackles, pops and hiss and have any general problems with RF noise and all that stuff, which traditional pickups can have a lot of those sort of problems.
Exactly right, yeah.
So it's great. You're travelling all around the world playing in different venues, and particularly because you can only carry one guitar.
Yeah.
And you want that one guitar to be able to do all of the things.
That's right, and that's what these do well. They stay in tune, they feel great to play. I just love them. The next mine's one of the, I think this might be a early 2000s model, or whenever they changed the headstock.
Yep.
But the neck's slightly different. It's slightly different to the lawsuit models, but they're still brilliant guitar.
In what way is it different?
I think they're slightly wider. Oh. They're slightly wider, yeah.
Okay.
Than that, yeah, which I quite like, yeah.
What other sort of sounds? Obviously, there's that little bit of a Chariots of Fire thing you had doing there.
Yeah, it's a clean thing, and I can punch in a chorus for that type of thing, and then I normally like a
got a bit of slap back on it.
Yeah, slap back type of thing. Might be a little dirty, but for the Tina stuff, it's probably a little more rocky.
Yeah.
This is mainly what I had programmed for the Tina show, but it's loosely what I sort of like to have in the arsenal.
Yep.
And then I've got the big Gary Moore sound.
Sounds very nice.
Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, it sounds great. And that's about it.
And so this is what you're using for playing when you're touring. Is it are you using a similar thing to record? So you're using a Helix when you record, when you're in the studio?
Yeah, in the studio I'm using a Line 6 Helix.
Yeah.
I've got it's so big I didn't want to take that on the road with me. And I've used it live a couple of times and I didn't really like it live. I found it a little...
So it works well in a recording situation,
for me
but you're not really loving it from a live point of view?
Yeah, a lot of guys use it live, but for me I couldn't get along with it live for some reason. Yeah. And the amp sims in the Helix are probably better than this.
Yeah.
But I find the effects in this to be really good.
Okay.
I find the effects in this are better than the Helix, I think. The delays and everything, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So how many presets would you use for a show, do you think?
Normally, 3 to 4. Yeah. But then I can punch in and out, turn the delay off or put some chorus in or whatever.
So you find it's like more of a clean sound, a crunch sound and a fairly heavy, dirty sound?
Yeah, that's normally my
Just
go-to.
those three?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Are you much of a... because the great thing about with the EMGs too, because you get active tone controls, I guess it's that thing too, you can get a bit of a dirty sound, pull in the mid boost and it really does make it thicker and drive
Sometimes
harder.
I'll do that,
So you get a lot of variation from the guitar itself.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
And as I say, I always try and, even on the Helix and with this, and I've got a bunch of things at home, I always sort of try and emulate the Roland GP8. I just think the compression in that thing was incredible and the delay in it. It was actually that the GP8s were analog circuitry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the interface was...
So the GP8
digital.
was more like a combination of buying a whole bunch of little Boss pedals,
Yeah.
but all in one unit.
That's right, yep.
It's amazing the way things have changed and technology.
I'd like to see them do a remake of a GP8 in some capacity. That same concept, but an updated one, yeah, and with reverb, because the GP8 never had reverb in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So if you're watching Roland.
All right. Yeah. I want to do, while we're touching on that particular guitar with those sounds, and the fact that both you and I spent some time playing with Phil Emanuel.
Yeah.
I used to have to play the harmony guitar part to this particular track. We used to play a little track called Take Off.
Yes.
And I've just sprung this on Robbie. He hasn't played it for a little while, and he's a bit rusty.
Bit rusty, mate.
And I've been playing it. I play it every now and then, and it still feels pretty comfortable for me.
Yep.
But I think it'd be great for people to have a listen to you play it. I'll play a bit of rhythm guitar.
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to play the acoustic one.
Something like that.
Oh.
It's been a while, mate.
It has been a while.
You know that there's some footage on YouTube of you playing on the Ray Martin show, I think
There
it
is. There
with
is.
the ladders in the background and
There
everything.
is.
I put that on YouTube. Me and my brother
Oh, really?
uploaded that to YouTube. Years ago, Phil's younger brother Darcy, he had collected a whole bunch of footage like through the Emanuel brothers' career. Anytime they played on TV, he would record it on VHS, but then he had them all converted to DVD. So I've got about 6 DVDs at home of footage of Tommy and Phil playing on all those shows.
Wow.
I should get some more on YouTube. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they are great.
And that was, I uploaded that like, it was around the time YouTube was just getting popular.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that was
I love that footage. It's brilliant.
Oh man, that was such an amazing day.
Johnny McKinnon on bass.
Johnny McKinnon on bass. Peter Bolton on keyboards.
Yep.
Shane Reed on drums.
Yep.
It was a great lineup of the band.
Brilliant.
And
Yeah.
well, we played "Oh Joyous Be to Your Manhood's
Joy,
Desiring."
yeah. I love that version. Yeah.
I think that's the full technical name of it.
Yeah.
By Johann Sebastian Bach.
Yeah, which he put on his Kakadu Sunrise album.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he played that incredibly well. And if you watch the actual footage, like it's pretty much we did a sound check at like 9 a.m, and that's opening at midday.
Wow.
And he's walked on cold and just nails
You're
it.
joking.
And it's like that's quite difficult to play at the tempo that he plays at.
That is unbelievable. Yeah. No.
It was a mission for me at the time. It was one of those things for me. It really lifted my playing immensely.
Yep.
Because up until I worked with Phil, I'd never really... my legato playing was probably quite good because I was a massive Satriani fan. And I was a massive Gary Moore fan. But I'd never played a lot of like the fast country 2/4 stuff, the Kelly Hoedowns and the Scottish Irish medleys and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And that required you to play with a fairly clean sound and to pick every note.
Yep.
There was no faking it, and there was no getting around cheating with a distorted sound.
Exactly.
It was all clean and all picked.
And Phil had a great right hand picking technique. Actually, I'll tell you a funny story. I'm using a Jazz 3 here.
Yep.
I normally use the 73s.
Yep.
But when I turned, do you know Joe Robinson?
Yeah.
Joe's a mate of mine, and I remember when he was like 15, he was just a prodigy, incredible guitarist.
He's just phenomenal.
Yeah, and you know, we'd run into him at festivals and stuff, and he'd get up and have a jam, and he was just incredible. And me and Joe, and actually another mate of ours, Jamie Bryan, Four Boards we call him, we would all get together because we were all guitar players, and we'd go and watch Phil, and we'd just be talking about his technique and what did he do there and that kind of thing. But Joe really got heavily into like the guitar instructional DVDs at the time. So when I turned 21, I got a birthday card in the mail from Joe, and I had a burnt copy of Rock Discipline by John Petrucci in it, and a Jazz 3. And he said, mate, this will help your right hand. And it did. Yeah. The techniques.
Christian O'Donnell introduced me to the Jazz 3. I used to use a bigger pick, and it was one of those, actually that does feel better.
Yeah, yep. So actually you got a lot out of that DVD. Just that technique stuff on there really helped the right hand.
Yeah, I just found the one thing that I guess it was, for me, it was like, it was such a kick up the bum, and having, because I spent 2 years doing it, having to keep up with Phil. Yeah. And so it's that thing of like sink or swim.
Yeah, that's it.
I better freaking start swimming pretty hard.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's what he did.
He was very inspirational.
Yeah, he was very inspirational, but if you're on stage with him, he'd make you better. He'd push you. And he was very inspirational for Rach and I, because we would try and emulate that, you know, when we're gigging with the Bosstocks, you know, we would try and push each other and then do harmonies together, and
He was a force of nature, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
So you're now, or just recently, taken up one of the guitar roles with Lee Kernighan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How's that going?
Well, I've done a few gigs with him, couple of gigs with him now, and it's awesome because when I was a kid, I loved country music and I had all his cassettes.
Oh, wow.
I had all the cassettes and I loved all the guitar parts in it. And
because he's had some great guitar players play.
Great guitar players. And as I've gone back through his catalogue to learn the songs, you do really go, wow, the guitar is awesome, but also the arrangements of the songs as well. It's been a lot of fun to go back, to learn the songs, and it's crazy to think, I'm doing some gigs with Lee. It's awesome.
Who else is playing guitar in that band?
Isaac Kennedy.
And he's a great player.
Yeah, he's a great player,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get along with Isaac great. When he found out that I was going to be doing a gig with Lee, he rocked up with a blade as well. And he's like, we'll both use blades. And I thought, oh, mate, Phil would be proud. Both of us using a blade.
Oh, that's funny.
It actually worked, sounded really good.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but they'd asked me to audition mid last year. I was already overseas. I couldn't commit.
Yeah.
But the time's kind of right now, and he's got a new tour coming out this year. I think he's got.
I saw advertising starting April, May?
Yeah, that's right.
Something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to hopefully catching one of those shows. That'd be great.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, but in the meantime, you've got a single coming out. Is there going to be an album coming out with that as well, or is it just a single for now?
Just a single for now. I've got other bits and pieces, but you know what it's like. Try and find the time to do your own thing in between everything else.
Why in particular has it got a blues edge to it?
Because I played at Blues on Broadbeach a few years ago.
Yes.
And they gave me a couple of gigs there, but they were 3-hour gigs. And I thought, it'd be good to chuck in some, just some original stuff at it too, being a festival, just to break it up. So I wrote a couple of blues songs just to kind of fit in with the theme of the festival.
Yep.
And I already kind of had some riff ideas that I wanted to incorporate into a song. Mm-hmm. Made it blues, and I'm really proud of how it's turned out. It's awesome.
And so the singing thing for you, I've never really seen you sing very much, but obviously it's something you've done quite a lot of.
Yep.
In the past, from what I've seen, I thought when you were doing solo shows, you were doing instrumental stuff, but obviously not. You were singing as well.
Yeah, singing as well. And I've always sung because I've had to. You know what I mean?
So, because you and Rachel did a bunch of stuff together, and obviously Rachel sings, so
yes.
both singing.
Yeah, both singing. I don't think I've really got a very strong voice, but I can get by.
If people would like to know what the singing voice of Robbie Bostock is like,
this guy can sing.
Well, I think it's one of those things. I think everybody can. Some people better than others.
Yeah. Well, I think with me too, like my confidence has come from just finding what you can do well and comfortably.
Yeah.
Without trying to, be
Singing
something.
is one of those things I think requires a certain level of self-confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I've met a few people who have lacked a little bit of the self-confidence, and then as time goes by, you can see the improvement.
Yes.
Because it is one of those things where, self-confidence is a really helpful thing to have.
Absolutely.
Really helpful thing.
Yep.
Do you plan on doing more singing?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Yep.
Have you done much singing in a country vein, like original material?
Not in a country vein, no.
Hinterland, what would you describe that band, what would you describe that stylistically? Would you say that was country?
I would say that was country pop maybe.
Country pop?
Yeah, yep.
And because obviously Jesse did the majority of the singing in that particular band.
Yep.
You've done a lot of writing in that genre, and you've spent a bit of time playing a lot of that particular type of genre.
Yeah.
I would almost think it would be the natural thing to do. Do you prefer the country thing, or do you prefer blues?
See, that's the thing. I like all kinds of different music. That's why I'm all over the place in that regard. But probably the country thing for me, I'd have to have a go at it, but I don't think I've got the Texas accent to go with it.
I don't think you need a Texas accent. You just need to be you.
That's it. Yeah.
You just need to be you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've got plenty of ideas in all sorts of different genres, and That's why I love doing my own stuff, because I don't do it for anyone but myself. And
I guess that's the difficult thing about being good and being able to being good at doing a lot of diverse things.
Yep.
Is it is very hard to decide I'm going to go down that particular path, because
That's right.
once you do that, you're discounting
Yes,
this sort of stylistically and that stylistically, because you're concentrating on that one thing.
that's right. Yeah.
And when you're doing stuff in the studio, stylistically, what are you doing there? Is it across a multitude of genres?
Mainly in the country world.
Yep.
Yeah, mainly in country world. I mean, it's very popular at the moment.
It is.
Yeah, the country
It's very
thing.
popular at the
And I think kind of my playing lends itself to that now, like for especially a lot of the session work, because it is a little bit sort of rocky, and I mean, let's face it, some of it's just straight up rock. You know,
It's
or some of
pretty
it's
much 80s
yeah,
rock with a country
or some
angle
of
to it.
Some of it's straight up pop. And like, oh, how am I going to make this sound country? But you know, you find a way.
Yeah. Are you using this particular pedal with Lee Kernighan live?
I have used it. Yes, I have used it for the gigs I've done with him, but I'm not sure whether I will moving forward. You know, we have the Backline amps on stage. I think he likes to push.
Likes
a bit
the sound of the amp on stage.
I think we like to push a bit of air in the shows. So I don't know. I might rejig my setup before the tour starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not working too bad. What we're doing tonight, just for those people who like to know the technical aspect of things, I'll put a picture of the Boss GX100, which that is, so people can see. But we're putting that through two DIs and then recording that directly straight into a recorder.
Yep.
And that's what you're listening to here. But for monitoring in the room here, Rob's playing through a Cerbella amp behind him.
Yep.
And it sounds pretty good coming through the Cerbella.
It actually does. I made a whole preset where I bypassed all the amp sims, and through the Backline amp, it didn't sound very good. But just like that, sounds great. Just
Sounds pretty good.
Leave it all on, you know?
Whatever works.
Yeah.
And that seems to be working quite well.
Yeah.
What would you say would be, if you had to think of one thing that was an absolute highlight of all the things that you've done musically, what would you say that one highlight would be?
Okay, interesting. A lot of great memories touring with the siblings. That was always very special.
Yeah.
And just seeing how proud Dad would be, you know. I think probably I can always remember when we used to play gigs in Tamworth or whatever, we'd always be on such a high after the gig, we'd be so excited. But when we got into our 20s and we're taking things, you know, professional musos, a highlight gig that we did was a festival in New Zealand. And I think it was like a food and wine festival. Mm-hmm. And there were 6,000 people there.
Wow.
And we took over a whole bunch of merch, you know, a couple of hundred CDs. And straight after the gig, everything sold like that.
Wow.
And we just thought, how are we going to get more merch for tomorrow night's gig? Because we were playing there again the next day.
And you're already sold out.
Yeah, but it was a great problem to have. But that was a memorable one. Also, as kids, you know, that the first time that Phil jammed with us, like the smiles on our faces, you know, that was another highlight too.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, a lot of great memories, Scott, and very blessed to be a muso.
Okay, so conversely, if you had to try and recall a moment where things weren't working out, you'd made maybe a decision that you've made or something that's happened along the way that was just something that you could look back and go, God, I wish I hadn't done that, or even a moment where you thought, you know, I don't know if this is the right thing for me. I don't know if I'm making the right decision in putting. Was there ever a time that you had that sort of feeling?
Yeah, I couldn't pinpoint anything. Nothing comes to mind, but of course, yeah, we all go through, you know, ups and downs. But, you know, for me, it always just comes down to just the love for the music and the instrument itself. But yeah, it's definitely a challenging industry, and it's changing, that's for sure. So, you know, you've got to adapt and be strong, you know, get through it. But yeah.
What's in the future for you at the moment? What do you see yourself doing in the long term?
I'm getting back into producing.
Yeah.
I love that. doing my own stuff. Yeah.
More original material.
More original material,
More out
absolutely.
gigging.
And trying to get better at that thing.
That's a never-ending
Which will
journey,
never
that,
happen,
isn't it?
yeah.
It's a never-ending journey.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm really stoked that you're getting into the slide thing. That was one of those things that I personally, I love listening to slide.
Oh, me too, yeah.
And I suck at it.
Yeah, no, me too. It's
And it's another one of those things, I know that I could be good, but it's a thing that requires, like everything, as you would know, it requires you to spend time.
Exactly.
And as a thing, you've got to be very careful what you spend your time on these days because we're all in such short supply of time.
That's right. Exactly.
I spend enough time practicing just to maintain the skills that I already have, let alone try and improve them into new areas. But it's one of those things. I think if you don't keep learning new things, you stagnate.
Yep, that's right.
And it's not good for you to do that.
Yeah, I'm the worst. What do you like? What do you like?
I go through varying stages, but I would, if I'm gigging a lot.
Yep.
I don't probably spend as much time practicing.
Yep.
Up until post-COVID, like pre-COVID, I would probably do 5 gigs a week.
Yep.
Every week.
Yep.
Almost 52 weeks a year.
Yeah.
And I'd take a holiday every now and then under sufferance.
Yep. Yeah.
And I really enjoy gigging.
Yep.
And obviously it's one of those things where you don't get paid holiday pay for gigging. You don't get paid superannuation and all that sort of stuff. So you gig as much as you possibly can and squirrel away money as best you can. And post-COVID, I'm not gigging as much. So I think I'm probably practicing now more than I ever have.
Oh, really? That's good. You know, I was always a big fan of going to jam nights. If I wasn't gigging, just go to a jam night. Play with other musos, jam with other musos. It's very valuable.
It is very valuable.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much stuff we learn from other people.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, I guess. So from my point of view, and this is the thing, that there are so many amazing resources online now.
Yeah.
That weren't available when I was young.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest thing that I had to learning resources when I was young was, from a technical point of view, was maybe buying the Paul Gilbert VHS tape, the Starlix videos, and the Steve Lukather Starlix videos. And
I had a rockabilly one with Danny Gatton and Brian Setzer.
Oh, wow. That would have been cool.
It was awesome, yeah.
There was a lot of those, and they were an amazing series of videos in the days before YouTube and the internet and all the things we have now.
Yeah.
And I guess the only other way was you'd record things and slow the tape down to a slower speed and go, I can sort of.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how learning things that way actually does develop your ear.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm sort of thankful that I managed to develop a reasonably good ear because of being around that stuff and hearing things and actually working that stuff out for yourself.
That's right.
But I'm just blown away by the amount of stuff that's online that's easily accessible now for learning.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's amazing.
You want to know how to do something, and there's some 10-year-old kid on YouTube showing you how to do it.
Have you seen much of the stuff like from guys like Taj Farrant?
I have. Yeah, he's incredible. Yeah.
Oh man,
amazing player. Yeah.
I watched a video of him playing Cliffs of Dover and playing it, and just absolutely, it was like with ease.
Yeah,
there was not and he's putting his own inflections and stuff, and his own personality and character. And I was just going, man,
wow, that's so cool.
He's gonna be a great. He's great now.
Yeah, he's great now. Yeah,
you know, and he's only going to get better.
Absolutely.
And it sort of makes me really happy that there's actually going to be, I think, a great future for particularly guitar music.
Absolutely.
It's going to be an interesting time and to see whether... there was a point in time a few years ago where I remember looking at the charts and playing in a cover band, you're looking for songs to play and you want to play whatever's the latest happening song. And I remember looking at the charts and there was, in the top 100, there was not even one song that had guitar in it.
Yeah.
But I think that's really, really turning around now.
Yeah.
Particularly with, like we were saying, country music is so popular.
Yep.
And Taylor Swift has made guitar popular again.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a great amount of female guitar players getting out there and playing now and amazingly good ones.
Speaking of which, I actually remember coming to see you guys. It would have been when I turned 18 in the early 2000s. And that was a pretty good little era of music then, what was happening.
It was.
There probably wasn't big guitar solos, but there was songs on the radio with
we
guitar
just come out of
in
the
it.
just come out of the 90s. The 90s
Yeah.
was very much the anti-Guitar Hero era.
Yep.
I remember coming
That's
out of the 80s and I'd finished,
Yeah.
and I'd had it was one of those things I'd made the decision to move away from working with Phil.
Yep.
And that was at the end of 89 going into 1990.
Yep.
And then 1990 and 91 came along.
Yeah.
Nirvana hit
Yeah.
hit things and it was like, no guitar solos.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it wasn't, it became the era of, and it was sort of a bit sad.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think it's coming back in a big way, which will be
I think
really,
so.
really cool.
Yep.
Anyway, it's been wonderful having this discussion with you, Rob.
Thank you very much.
I'll
Scott.
put links down below for everything Robbie Bostock's up to. And we've got a new single, so that'll be out by the time this should be out by the time
Absolutely will
this,
be. Yep.
this podcast drops.
For sure.
And you'll be able to go out and stream. Is it going to be available for streaming?
Yes. Yep.
Streaming on Spotify, Apple,
Yep.
Pony,
Everywhere.
everywhere. And can people buy Can people buy CDs?
Eventually, yeah. But I've got my instrumental EP for sale, which is on CD. But I'm aiming to get an EP out. So
I'll put all
we'll
the
be
links
able to-
below.
Put the links below, mate.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you, sir.
No worries.
Cheers, mate.
And thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the next podcast. Cheers.